Right.
Good morning.
Morning.
There he is.
Yo, do you see Boots' message in the chat right now? That's on a podcast. That's wild. Okay, why is my piece of 2000? Um, how's it going this morning?
Pretty
That was a
good.
nice little pre-market.
Some things moving around.
Yeah.
That thing still looks pretty good in the pre-market. I still got some on this Smart for Life. Didn't think I'd be scalping this thing this morning when I woke up. Here we are.
Here we are. Um, I'm just inputting some of the stocks from last night into my list. My My screens are moving kind of slow this morning. Might end up having to reboot at some point, but I'll be able to make it through at least the pre-market. Um,
1 second. Wednesday. Okay.
hey, Brocker, do you want to start by going over some of the things that we covered yesterday morning, and just kind of some of the things that happened uh, yesterday, maybe?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to fix something right now.
Economic calendar. Anything going on today? What day is it? Wednesday?
21st. Yeah.
Um, oh, FOMC minutes today,
2 p.m. Yeah.
2 p.m. That'll be an interesting one. See what they talked about. I can't remember. I'm gonna try to go back in the chat and figure out the change in the language that they use because I know there was a few changes in their pre-released note. Um, I mean, in targeting. Did you see this VKTX come back and how it closed yesterday?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Just pump the close.
yeah.
Damn.
Super. I've for sure got this on my list this morning. Probably like 6 window worthy. I mean, use that
Wow.
for a while,
That's interesting.
right?
All right. Looks like we got a good chunk of people in here.
Ready to get rocking.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Um, yeah, so we got FOMC minutes, 2 p.m. We've got some like oil inventory crap at 10:30, nothing. Doesn't look like any Fed speakers. 20-year bond auction at 1 p.m. I'm not sure if there's any like investor calls or company calls. Yesterday, there was actually two. I want to start with this. There was actually two really sweet. I don't know whose screen they can see, people can see right now, but I'm sure in mine. There was two really sweet like news plays yesterday. Texas Instrument, had a call or something, and this thing got a big push from like 197 up to like 205 on that call. And shout out to Bob Wiley Trader, his volume scanner. This thing's electric. Caught this, a minute before this popped, like a minute and a half when the volume started coming in, and this ended up ripping. And then what was the other one? TTWO. Went
Dude,
went
that was
even.
nuts.
You guys are laughing at me because I'm like, guys, I think this is something. Anyways, yeah, this started getting volume like right down here, and got picked up, and lo and behold, this goes 150 to 157 now in the pre-market, but right away up to 155. These things are crazy.
PXN's up another $4 too today.
In the pre-market, is it?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, almost
chart
2%.
looks great.
It does. You always like swinging a runner or two on these when you get these news plays. Um, those are pretty sweet. Some of the things that we covered yesterday in pre-market ended up playing out. Bronco, if you want to talk about some of that, and then we can get into what's happening today, or I guess whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, just I'll pull my screen up. Yeah, so as far as yesterday, I mean, the only big one was this Lunar yesterday. Gave a sick little pre-market entry or opening range breakout entry. I guess it was moving to the pre-market. It was getting some traction on Twitter and stuff. We talked about this in the pre-market yesterday. This just gave a really nice opening range break pattern. I mean, it just kind of set the opening range highs at 510, pulled back, started to curl, and just picked up volume and took it out, and then it was gone from there. Gapped down a little bit this morning, but I'd keep eyes on this. I wouldn't maybe be buying it today, but you could definitely keep eyes on this. But as far as the indexes yesterday, we kind of popped into this gap. Sharp Traders, a contributor in our Discord, he actually had a really, really nice trade on this SPY yesterday. Yeah, we kind of popped up. We mentioned this. Market looked pretty strong, but we were coming into this. This was like the final bearish gap here on the S&P up at the highs from when we kind of began this correction. We kind of popped up into that gap, and we saw a little bit of a rejection and just gave this really nice like just little wedging pattern here that rolled over. And I think he got in this at like 10-10 flat right when this broke down, and that gave us a nice little sell. But the market recovered near the end of the day. He had an inside day on the SMH, so this still looks great. I mean, kind of just sitting right under the 50-day moving average. But we kind of saw our first little sign of maybe exhaustion, I guess. Even then, we only closed down 0.16% on the day. So the 65 minutes get really tight. It looks like we might want to come test yesterday's highs potentially in the pre-market. I kind of watch this like 560 area, but I think we want to maybe that's a sign that we're going to consolidate up here a little bit until we got a big catalyst on Friday with Powell speaking and stuff. But yeah, not too many thoughts on the indexes personally. Little bit of like an indecision candle yesterday, so we'll see how that plays into today. As far as the watch list goes, I put this ON on yesterday. I put on, I think I took the 45 calls for October down near the lows yesterday. As long as this can hold this HVC, which the high volume closed from earnings, which was 41.27, I think, yeah. In this daily 9 EMA, I like this. If this ends up, selling and taking that out today, I'll cut it. But I'm hoping this can pop back up towards, 42.50, high 42s today, and build out nice and tight below this 43 area and set up for like a little flag post earnings flag breakout. So hopefully, I'd like this gap up to hold today, and we'll see there. I ended up trying that MSTX yesterday, didn't work out, got stopped out on shares pretty quick. So that was it for me yesterday for the most part. I got a few names on the list today. You guys talking about that cat in the pre-market. I actually had this on my list this morning. This looks pretty sweet. I mean, you got, really nice undercut back here when the market bottomed to the 200-day. Really powerful move. And now you got this little flag pattern. Cat's been a little, last couple of times it kind of set up above the MAs like this. It hasn't really followed through. One thing I will say, though, it is a lot tighter this time around. You take a look at, the last times it popped over the 59 and 20 and tried to set up, it was really loose and, volatile. But you got a nice little tight pattern here, 4 pretty tight days. So, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. Probably one that I won't trade, but, I know some people would definitely be into this. Could be a little tighter than moving averages, but this looks solid through like 346. A 65-minute looks great. VST, this is getting really tight. We talked about this yesterday and I ended up just putting in an inside bar. This is a great look. I mean, just this 5-6 candle pattern looks really great. It is, it kind of gives me the feel of one of those setups where like kind of, too tight for too long, where, you kind of got everybody watching this right now. I know a lot of people are definitely have eyes on this and just that group in general, but you know, I mean, there's really no reason to not take this. I don't think if this triggers over like 81-ish, maybe 80, 70. So this looks really clean. I just watched the 65 minute on this and looked for kind of a go signal. You got the declining 50-day, not the greatest look, but this could be the start of something for sure. ON. So this this Rivian again, this ended up, not really doing much yesterday. Popped into the 90 MA and kind of rejected. It's sort of got a bear flag look right now. And then you got Manrav and Alex Jones keep posting, this Rivian flow that came in yesterday. Do you remember what they were hitting on those?
There were some 14 calls. I can't remember the exact strike, but there were 14 calls. I can find them and have them to you by before open.
Yeah, they were the 14 calls for September 6th. You get a couple 100,000 in premium there. When Manrav and Alex Jones find something interesting, I like to keep eyes on it. So whether it works or not, but they're pretty good at spotting stuff out like that. So, this is getting really, really tight. You got this bullish gap here and this 90 EMA coming down. You got 3 tight days right now. You can see the 65 minute just, really getting tight. So I'm going to keep eyes on this, whether there's maybe some news coming or something like that. I have no position right now. I know they tailed that flow a little bit yesterday, so I'm going to keep eyes on this, see if we end up, maybe getting a headline. I know there's a couple headlines moving around, I think, with Rivian yesterday, but nothing really significant. So we'll keep eyes on that. This SOUN was another one I wanted to mention with the close it had yesterday. I know a lot of people are also watching this one. I got an alert set at 520. If that goes off, I'll kind of, give it a look. But, I'd say the only issue with something like this, there can be a lot of occasions where you have a chart that like looks really good, like the last like 5-10 candles, and it's really tight. But one big downside of like a setup like this is that it has no momentum. And typically, these tight little flag patterns work best when you have a stock that's made a big move and it sets up again. Right now it just has no momentum at all. It's not running off of anything. It's just been sideways for 4 months. So that could mean that, this could get really explosive if there's something to ignite like a move on this. But I've seen countless times, traders, including myself, just get chopped up looking at setups like this on something that's just in a range. It has no momentum. So just keep that in mind. But this has this little flag pattern. It got really tight up into yesterday, and it looked like it was breaking down and losing this range yesterday, and it got bought back up into the close, and closing near the highs of the day. And now you're going to open up kind of inside near the top of the range. So keep an eye on this through 520. Maybe like 550 is the real bigger picture trigger on this. But if you're in that stuff, you can keep an eye on this for sure. I'd say that's really it. I know a lot of people are watching this 3M. This has got like a flat top spot, probably target 130 if it gets taken out. This 65 minutes kind of just wedging up into this, resistance with no real good looking pattern, in my opinion. So we'll see, maybe this is prone to some failure up here, especially with the indexes extended. So this is kind of like a B setup for me. But it's getting a little bit tight up there, but that's pretty much I got. I wouldn't say I have any really high quality looks today. I'm not surprised with the indexes extended. I mean, there's a lot of good looking stocks out there, but they're just, they're not tight, and they're not in like good buy spots right now. They're just still a little bit extended. So, probably just going to kind of, manage a couple of these positions I have right now. See if anything, goes on intraday that, we can kind of capitalize on. But as far as my pre-market scans, I'd say, pretty average setups across the board for the most part right now.
All right. Share my screen here. If you want to go over, I want to talk about this meta again from from yesterday. You had mentioned this yesterday in the pre-market, ended up just being a inside day yesterday, and we've got flat open up 0.4%. Two scenarios on this is that we end up going right away, breaking this inside day high 531 if the market shows some strength today, but we kind of we always start covering a brief little note on the indexes. Would not be surprised, and in fact really prefer a little bit more of this consolidation or even retracement. With that being said, though, it's a market of stocks, so I will follow the right single stock setup. And I think this is worthy of having on your list. Second option on this, since we are right in a very bullish scenario still, if we do break the inside day to the downside about 525.88, would look for this to tap the daily 9 EMA, kind of come into this support that it's had, maybe even as far down as 533, and hold that 9. And then, you've got a pretty tight area to risk off of, where if we end up, maintaining below that 523, you're going to want to end up waiting for, further setup. So, two pretty simple areas to look for meta against. Yeah, that's SOUN. I did really like that close on this. Here's just a 15-minute of how this closed. Not sure what was going on there, but you might have some eyes on this. Just set an alert over 520 previous day's high and see how it's acting. This FSLR, I want to see this push like immediately at the open. I ended up buying this down near 218 yesterday with just a risk down 217. I actually want to go over this. So let me just clean up this. So this 217 level was that higher low on the 65-minute, where we kind of confirmed a little bit of a move right here, and then resulted in just some consolidation. We dipped down to that spot. I ended up buying it once we had some presence of buyers down there, and was like, all right, let's see if maybe this is just a little undercut and we're gonna reclaim into this spot. Up like the 3.5 points on it. But like I said, I want to see this really quickly remount the 9 EMA on the daily. Otherwise, I'm just going to be getting out of this. I removed risk completely, just in at break even. Stops in at break even on this, up a couple points. The other one I want to go over is this EA still high tide inside day yesterday. We've got a little bit of a weak open this morning, flat. I want to see this get pushing and really start to push these levels. You break over this, this previous 2-day high, I think you're good to go. This stock's been great to us. I like this engulfing candle right here. I like this day 2 follow through. I like this day 3 rest. And then we've got, like I said, a flat open here. This is some good characteristics. What I like to see on a stock that's looking ready to make another move. Gilead ended up entering some October calls on this. The 77.5s were pretty cheap. They were like $1.15. Up like I think 15% or so, 16% at close on the Octobers. I'd be fine with this, consolidating for a little bit, getting one more day sideways if it wants to, but this is in motion. Just got to stop below the 20 EMA on the daily. Really risking only 60 cents from here, give or take, depending on where we close on that. But still a fan of that. You had mentioned this VST. Yeah, I like this a lot as well, but I still think I like GEV a little bit better. Like similar, industry, right? It's like these, data center utility stocks. This is a new IPO spun off from General Electric. You got this little all-time high flat top break spot that we're kind of breaking and consolidating right now. And, dips have been getting bought if you pull up the 30-minute, right? There's been, a little bit of pulls, but they've been getting bought up, and, just getting nice and tight in this little flag. I think this is a must-have on your watch list. Reddit. I want to go over Reddit. I just had a really strong close. A lot of you guys were talking about this in the chat, and how it was good risk to reward down here. There's a little bit of options flow. Let me just kind of draw out this little channel. So, towards the afternoon yesterday, this really got ripping, and yeah, so this candle that it put in, right? This is what we were kind of talking about so much a couple weeks ago, right? Where you pop back into the moving averages, look like you might roll over and it might just be like a bear flag. And then it just ends up getting bought up, putting in a higher low, right? Getting nice and tight, and eventually, right, pops through the moving average. That's when you get your wedge popper thrust through the MAs. This is showing some characteristics of it. I wish the 9 and 20 EMAs were a little bit closer. Like I said, when I pull up this 65 and hourly chart, I have no trouble, seeing that pop through, seeing this hourly chart put up a higher low and take this back through 55 with just a risk down to like 54. You got about $1 risk on this, and I think that's pretty reasonable. If you got in yesterday, you can just risk down to yesterday's low, which is even better entry. But I think this is worthy of being in play. I want to bring up VKTX and ALT. So this VKTX, right, had this big old push on Monday. It was up 17%. And then yesterday was like down like 10%. So, just really volatile. But then this thing ramped into close from 12:30 into close. This went from $60 back up to 67. I thought that was incredibly impressive, putting in this really nice candle at the 90 EMA, closing high. And I think this is worthy of having on your list for some continuation today. With the way this closed, the way this acted on Monday, and some strength we're seeing in pre-market. This ALT is kind of another one that was moving on Monday. It was up like again 16%, had a tight inside day. We got kind of a flat open. Not super familiar with this. This is just like a small cap biotech stock, I guess. But this went on a hell of a run at the end of 2023. Not a crazy idea to keep an eye on this. Have on your watch list if VKTX gets moving. Not sure if they're closely correlated or anything. Yeah, I like this cat here. I think that you could buy this on strength or weakness into the 90 EMA down here at like 341-ish, 341.50. JD is gapping down on Walmart's like selling a bunch of shares. This LI still looks pretty good. I think this LI still looks good. I'm keeping an eye on this one. I'll watch this for you though. I don't think there's any reason to really make it a major focus.
Dude, this target's going nuts in the pre-market.
Yeah.
Whew.
Oh, I meant to bring this up. They did have a really good portion of their earnings that was, what did they mention? Their beauty department or segment. So maybe Elf sees a little bit of strength off that.
This Elf's at an interesting spot. I've been watching this the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a big like topping pattern on the weekly, but like every time this has looked like a topping pattern, it's like undercut and just ripped. It's got that little undercut candle from last week. So I don't know. If this gets tight down here, we could maybe watch this. Not the best trader though. A little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, they did. Like I said, they did shout out the beauty segment of that. And Elf is, I think, like the main one in Target. I don't know. Yeah, TJX. Interesting. TJX is one of the best performing stocks of all time. Interesting. Interesting note. Yeah. It's like TJX, Domino's, and Monster. DG, DLTR, Ricky. Let me take a look. What are you seeing? Off. Yeah, maybe these, start a little bit of a trend in some of these.
Yeah, they're getting some pre-market action, right?
Yeah, these are up a little bit in the pre-market.
What's your thoughts on the index action from yesterday? Anything?
Me?
Yeah.
No, nothing. I think we take very little from that action other than it is the first day of rest that we've seen in like 10 days. I suppose we had that one here on Monday the 12th. Yeah, just first day of rest. Without without the subsequent candles to follow, today, tomorrow, Friday. And I think that's all the information that we have is this indecision candle rest at a big, pretty notable resistance spot. So, I mean, if we start getting weak and, notably break yesterday's close, which is what, 558.70. We can take a look at more of like a 15-minute. I think if we maintain below, let's just call it 558, and start like rejecting this with upper wicks at 558, then maybe, you can more confidently trade some things down. And I would get a little bit more cautious on some bullish positions if we're rejecting this spot from underneath, notably. But until then, if we're just kind of drifting, even if we do drift like this, I see no reason to not trust your setups. Yeah, so let's just maybe recap a little bit before we get going. Um, which ones are going to be the faves? Really going to keep an eye on this meta, this GEV, EA, FSLR. I do have a couple of these semis on the list, like this AMAT and LRCX.
I know, I was looking at AMAT LCX. I was like, not particularly stocks I'd want to trade, but they look interesting.
Yeah, I think we still keep taking it day by day, trust our individual stock setups. I think we covered a number of them. And yeah. Anybody got any other questions? Oh, that is interesting, CT. SPY closed down after 8-day win streak. Only happened 17 other times. Next day, mixed results. But 2 and 3 days after, the win rate is 70% for closing in positive territory. All righty. Get your stock boxes filled out, folks. Let's get ready to do what we do.
You like this Alta 65-minute with that beauty thing you're talking about? Could be like a little EP thing. Could be out into something. What was that, the Warren Buffet buy?
Yeah. I mean, they bought like, it's one of his little minions that bought like a couple $1,000,000 worth, couple $100,000,000 worth. That's so crazy that can gap a stock up 15% when someone.
Well, it was so oversold though.
I know.
And all the stocks that were, they were all going nuts. I mean, this Nike's high and tight. This has been holding up really well too.
Yeah, I was looking at this a little bit yesterday as well. This little 65-minute spot. There was another one that was kind of, I think Lulu was sitting right at a third tap of this gap spot, like 262. Up like $3 in the pre-market, but I was looking at this last night. Right there. Man, JJ had alerted this, and then I ended up grabbing shares. I like the perfect time on this. I had like, I think like 250 of these things at 241 or something. Oh, market's open.
All right, we're open.